That's your cue. Clay, it's time to go on.
But I see no signs of life. Nothing but an empty cave.
Clay. Oh no. It's okay. Just sing. Your songs will carry you.
No. This is a mistake.
Please.
It's been so long. I'm not ready. I'm sorry. I'm not ready.
I have climbed the highest mountains. I have run through the fields only to be with you. Only to be with you. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for.
Hi there, I'm Pete Hammond, and I'm here with Scene at the Academy, where we examine a specific scene from an upcoming film, as well as talk about that movie. And I'm really happy here to be with the creators of Sing 2. It's such a fun, inspiring movie, of course, the sequel to 2016's Sing. And we're going to talk all about it here. And you just saw this incredible clip there with Bono and the iconic song from U2, but that's one of many songs in this. So let me welcome first up, producer, head of Illumination, so many movies that he's made, so many great movies, Chris Meledandri. Hi.
Hello, Pete.
How are you? And we have returning, he did the first film as well, writer and director Garth Jennings. Hi.
Hello, Pete. How you doing?
Very good, very good. And wow, you know, looking at that clip there, how iconic, and what a get, as they say in the business, what a get to get Bono as part of this cast, which is already a great voice cast. But Chris, as producer, I just have to ask you, how'd you do it?
Well, The Secret Weapon was really Garth, because we got together and we talked about ideas, who could play this character, and as we just started to discuss it, we just kept coming back to Bono as our dream casting, and what we did was really sent Garth in to talk to him and really share what his vision was for the film, for the character. And Bono was quite, cautious and deliberate about his process of determining whether or not this was the project that he wanted to get involved with. So I have to say it was Garth's, the time he spent with Bono that really convinced Bono that this was a film to join with us on.
Yeah, Garthy's never done an animated feature like this. And of course, you're able to get these songs that everybody knows, but you were also able to get, how did this happen? You got an original song out of Bono too for the film.
Yeah, well, you know what? Actually, although Chris is being very generous here and saying I was a part of this, and yes, I definitely had a role in this, but it was really the first film that is our biggest calling card. He really loved the first film. He could see that we really loved music. And, that was clear in the way we've used it and the way we've worked with it. And he was very vocal about that. And we had this long conversation, about 45 minutes was the initial chat. And honestly, by the end of it, he was saying, well, look, this is a story about grief. And this is about how this music would bring this character back. There is a song in this. And he literally said it as a suggestion, like, I think there's a song in this. We never went asking for an original song. We always had the original, the old songs from U2 in mind. And we talked about what that song would be, but I thought he was talking hypothetically and I wasn't going to hold him to it. And it wasn't until we got into the studio to record his first few lines of dialogue that he then turned around afterwards and said, oh, by the way, I wrote that song. And because he felt so passionate about it, not just in terms of how it would work for the character in the film, but it's also very much how he feels about music. It really did, in his words, save his life. So he felt very moved to write this piece of music, and I am still astounded that I'm able to talk about it in this way. That this was a gift that you just never get normally.
And we saw in this scene, and you see it in his portion of the movie as well. He's a recluse. His wife had died. He's out of the business, and they lure him back. And this is an exciting moment in the film here, where he's walking on stage there with Ash, and they're doing this, and it's back to show business, and it's kind of everything, and it's beautifully staged. Can you guys talk about that moment and using that great song too? Well,
first of all, it's super quiet. It starts with nothing because he just can't cross that threshold. It's too much. He's been 15 years away from this point in this part of himself, and it's a terrifying prospect for him. So I love the fact that it just becomes this very quiet, very still, that the camera doesn't even move, and it's just very much about him just being stuck in this moment, and it's Ash connecting with the audience, and that love from the audience coming back by singing his song back to him that brings him out. And it's all there. His whole story is there. The coming down the cave out into the light. It's all in a way an illustration of his entire process. He's literally going from the dark into the light, and the crowd's all there waiting for him, welcoming him back with music. And by the end of it, of course, just beyond this clip, he's literally floating on air. By the end of it, he floats up above the audience. He's lifted up, it transcends the whole thing. So you really do get to hopefully feel an emotional sort of how he's going through this emotionally.
Yeah, Chris, that's so important to you in your films too. The emotional element, the characters, the content, the story content. I think that drives everything Illumination does, and of course the humor too. But those story elements, those elements are really important to get those in these films.
Yeah, I think, for us, it really starts with character and trying to find that sort of honest place inside of each character that perhaps has insecurity or fear or really kind of rooting ourselves in the flaws of a character as well as the dreams of a character. And for me, that sequence, as Garth was describing it, to me, it so speaks to really what we aspire to have a scene that can communicate as much as this one scene does. And I just marvel at the performance, the animation performance that Garth and the animation directors and the co-directors brought to life there, with that you can so feel that trepidation in the Clay Calloway's character as he begins to walk down that ramp to the stage. And I think if you look at Garth's direction in the movie of Clay, to me, it's one of the most nuanced animated performances that we've certainly had in any of our films. There's so much that's done with so little. And you really feel Bono's voice so inhabiting that character and that moment.
Yeah, it's amazing. You know what else I noticed too in this scene is the quality, the costumes, the production design, all of that stuff. You don't necessarily automatically think in animation, but it's just as important in animation as it is in live action films. And it's really very front and center here, Garth.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, we were promising our audience a big show at the end, the kind of scale that you might find on a big stage in Vegas. And even though our characters have humble beginnings, they had to feel like they own each one of those moments. And so, yeah, we didn't mess about there. We went straight to we hooked up, for instance, in terms of costumes with Redarte, who are brilliant fashion designers, and were able to sort of bring that skill set and that amazing sort of attention to detail they have to all of our characters. So they weren't just fabulous costumes. They really were telling the story. So, Mina, who's sort of suddenly falling in love, and it's just this great big flowing romantic dress, that it all sort of adds to that. And the same with Ash, that she is literally light. She is filled with microfibers and these little LEDs and things that will just, everything reflects. And she's literally this little shining light in his life. And he is coming out. He just has to come out feeling like an authentic rock legend. You have to think there he is. He's back as you last saw him. So it's real rock star kind of outfits. But again, perfectly executed by Redarte. And the same for the set designs. They had to feel like they weren't just beautiful, but they were serving that emotional purpose. That he was going to have to come out of a cave. He was going to have to come out into the light and at the end float up into the air. I love that we were able to illustrate these emotional stories that way.
Yeah.
I watched that sequence and the entire sort of third act of the movie, and all I think about is wanting to see Garth direct for the stage, because you sit back and you think about just performance and color and light and music all coming together in this fantastic show. And I just find myself wanting to actually see that show or a show like that coming out of Garth's imagination, actually sitting in a theater live.
Well, maybe you're going to give us a little scoop here. I mean, I could easily see this on a Broadway stage.
But just take it away. Let's do it. Let's decide that right now.
Right. Chris, you came up with this idea 10 years ago, however long it was, and got it into motion. And, what was it? Shows like American Idol and The Voice were showing people following their dreams. And the first thing was definitely about Buster Moon following a dream. This one, I think, is how far can you take that dream, and how much do you believe in yourself and your ultimate potential too, I think.
That's absolutely, clearly central to it. Where I started with it was this idea of actually producing, which is you have ideas and and they're just ideas, and you want them to ultimately manifest into this, huge production. And as you communicate those ideas, you have to believe in them to a degree where at some point, are you just sharing your thoughts, or are you starting to cross the line and actually being somewhat fraudulent in the sense that it's going to be great, it's going to be the big, but you have nothing but an idea. And this kind of story and character had been kicking around my head for quite some time. And I saw Garth's movie, Son of Rambo, which is not an animated movie. It's this absolute gem of a film, a pure character piece. And it had just stuck with me, the humanity in it. And so at some point I realized that this was my partner to set out on this journey. And what was interesting is, as in my head, Buster started off from the perspective of a producer, but the minute that Garth became involved, he got so much more he became far more legitimate. You know, I was thinking just purely from, you know, the razzle dazzle of a producer, and Garth sort of was bringing the spirit of a director. But what we found was that in both cases, there is this moment where you're sharing your ideas about something, and you have to get everybody to believe in them, and you yourself are filled with doubt. So what do you do with that doubt? And you're asking people to have faith. And that's kind of where that journey started for us.
Well, who knew this was the Chris Meledandri story? You know,
it was for 5 minutes until it became the Garth Jennings story.
No, I think that's the thing. Chris and I have identified with this character all the way along. I think that's why it's been a joy. We've sort of channeled ourselves into this thing. And then it doesn't hurt to have someone like Matthew McConaughey, who gives this sort of colorful take on this. This sort of, it makes this character so endearing, and yet so, you know, such a pickle. He remains a pickle throughout. But no, I think you're right. And I remember when you talked about those things, when we first met about this, Chris, just over 10 years ago, instantly I was like, oh, yeah, I completely could see where you were going. And like you said, we didn't know where it was going. We just sort of believed that road would lead us here. Who knew we would end up here 10 years later?
well, you know, and it's amazing, and what a gift for families to see this. And it has so many great elements. You mentioned Matthew McConaughey, of course, Reese Witherspoon, Scarlett Johansson. You can go on and on, Taron Egerton, and then Halsey you've got in this, and Pharrell Williams. And I mean, what a cast. It's an amazing thing to put together. And I want to thank both of you for telling us the secrets behind this and sharing this with Scene at the Academy today. Thanks, Chris, and thanks, Garth.
Thanks, you, Pete.